Welcome back to another instalment of New Zealand's Bird of the Week, where in this video I will be talking about the Auckland Island Merganser. Typical Mergansers that have now become extinct, that with their serrated edges to their bills, were also occasionally known as sawbills. I hope you enjoy. Auckland Island, otherwise known as Southern or New Zealand's Mergansers, were waterfowl that, while seeming to resemble shags and or cormorants, were sea ducks and or diving ducks, with them being distinct in having serrated edges to their long and thin beaks to help them grip prey. Mergansers are almost all found in the Northern Hemisphere, with the exception of the Brazilian Merganser and the ones in New Zealand, with the former appearing to be more basal. Interestingly, there is no suggestion that Mergansers arrived from Australia, and instead may be a derivative of a northern form which arrived down in the Southern Hemisphere, perhaps from China or somewhere in Europe. They were interestingly the smallest known member of the genus, with birds ranging from 40 to 46 centimetres in length and weights of around 520 through 660 grams, and also uniquely showed little plumage dimorphism. Birds were uniformly dark grey, with their heads and necks being dark brown, with males being distinguished by their larger size, longer bills and crests, and some minor plumage differences, but nothing too extreme. They also differ from other Mergansers in having more slender bills and shorter toes, and overall are best thought of as an isolated population of northern birds that secondarily lost the large differences in dimorphism and bright plumage in the other males. Ducklings showcase the same darkening and loss of pattern typical of other island species when compared to their assumed ancestral types. And although the adaptive advantage of the normally patterned down is not entirely understood, it may be disruptive, and so helping in concealing them from ground and aerial predators. The pale belly, coupled with the upper parts being darkened, perhaps add value in regards to camouflage from beneath when fishing, with it also potentially being adaptive to fish catching habits. Birds were noted to have pair bonds, which may have been long-term, extending beyond the only recorded egg-laying period, which was likely to have been around late November through December. They were likely territorial like other Mergansers, and as such would have maintained their territories and relationship year-round. They nested in holes and cliffs and all steep banks and laid around 5 eggs, with the only brood ever observed being noted to have consisted of 4 ducklings. Habitat and diet-wise, descriptions of them indicate that they inhabited and fed in both marine and freshwater environments. The main Auckland Island had more than 30 suitable streams, with many waterfalls and terrace pools, a few even having small lakes along their courses, and with the main island being around 460,000 hectares, could well have supported an estimated population of around a few hundred birds when they were under original conditions before human arrival. A specimen collected in 1901 had a 90mm galaxid, a freshwater fish in their mouth, and the gut contents of another bird consisted of macerated fish bones, the mandibles of an errant polycate, and an unidentified gastropod. Analysis of stable isotope contents of bones also confirmed that they fed in both marine and fresh waters. Subfossil remains show that the species was formerly widespread on the New Zealand mainland, being found among the middens in areas ranging from Marlborough to Lake Grasmere and up to the North Island and down in Stewart Island. Remains consisting of premaxillae, craniums and limb bones have been recovered, with these also giving some key insights into their distribution and build compared to the birds on the Auckland Islands. Uncertainty is however present over the species they belong to, as while the skull elements are virtually identical, there are some differences. The measurements overall compare well with those of the mainland bones, aside from the humerus, with one bone from an adult having a length of 82mm compared to the 70.9mm for the adult males, indicating that these birds may have been potentially ancestral to the Auckland Island species, and if not, were still slightly larger. In addition, there was also a separate Merganser species on the Chatham Islands, and currently therefore, the fossils from the mainland can as of now not be confidently assigned to either of the named species. It seems likely that the Auckland Islands, if indeed the bones on the mainland belonged to them, were at the extreme end of their range and either way became extinct on the mainland by around 1500, soon after the arrival of humans. Birds, while also having reduced wings, could fly well from observations of them, although they were quite hard to flush from a given area, preferring to hide between rocks when pursued. They were first discovered on the Auckland Islands around 1840, although their population by this point had probably diminished significantly due to the introduction of pigs and cats 20 years earlier. This wasn't helped by the likelihood that they were ground nesters, although they could have also used natural cavities to nest in as well. While being quite tame when it came to people, 2 adults being shot in 1888, not even attempting to dive to escape as an example, still was predators, ranging from rails that may have taken eggs, to skuas, falcons, eels, and even sea lions that all would have been a threat to them. A big threat also came from people, with specimen collecting for museums reaching its peak in the 1890s, with the last birds, a pair of them, being seen and collected in the January of 1902, a mere 60 years after their initial discovery. This didn't stop searches for them though, as a documentation of the region in 1904 made note of the lack of any Mergansers. An expansive search was made throughout the Auckland Islands between November 1972 and February 1973, during the joint New Zealand Government/US National Science Foundation expedition. Although efforts were vigorous, with all of the islands in the archipelago being landed on at least once, and studied more thoroughly than ever before, the regretful conclusion was that the population of Mergansers had indeed disappeared. There was one remark mentioning a Merganser found on Campbell Island in 1842, although this may just be referring to the semi-marine Campbell Island teal. Either way, now all that remains of them is 4 duckling specimens, 23 skins of immature and adults alike, 3 skeletons, and a partial cadaver stored in 11 museums. And with that, I thank you for watching this instalment of New Zealand's Bird of the Week. For next time, you are now able to vote for the Chatham Island raven. Birds that, while being a subspecies of the closely related New Zealand raven, were a fair bit larger, and were in fact among the largest passerines. With that, I'll see you next time, whenever that may be.